Caught in a time loop that endlessly cycles through the day of his death, a former special operations agent needs to unravel the enigma of his premature end. Get ready to relive the adventure as we recap the story of action film today, Boss Level, production year 2020. The movie begins on May 9th in the morning at the residence of ex-Delta Force Captain Roy Pulver. Upon waking up in bed next to a woman named Alice, Roy witnesses her screaming and running away when a man with a machete comes in and swings at Roy's head. Roy mimics the hitman's moves in a calculated manner, avoiding each strike to protect himself while expressing frustration over the situation. Outdoors, a helicopter ascends, carrying a second assassin who shoots a machine gun, accidentally killing the initial assassin when he is believed to be Roy. While the second person shoots randomly inside the apartment, Roy slouches on the couch and gazes at a photograph of his former girlfriend, Gemma Wells. Following the chopper's window crash, Roy leaps onto a sand truck after 22 attempts, then carjacks a man while escaping two assassins named Pam and Esmeralda. Roy drives carelessly and suddenly remembers an approaching truck, colliding with it and succumbing to his injuries after being ejected from the vehicle. Roy narrates that he has experienced death 140 times already, repeating the same day continuously. The issue is, regardless of how many assassins he manages to avoid, more continue to appear. Apart from the initial 4, there is a female warrior called Guan Yin who consistently reveals her identity and takes credit after decapitating Roy. "I am Guan Yin, and it was Guan Yin who achieved this." A dwarf known as Kaboom earned his nickname through his love of explosions while hunting Roy. There is a man called Roy 2 Inches and another guy named Smiley who pierces him with a harpoon and pulls him through the streets using his truck. In attempt 48, Roy tried to reach Gemma at her workplace, but her boss, Colonel Clive Venter, answered the phone instead. He informs Roy that Gemma passed away from an accident, but Roy is aware that she was murdered. He is later targeted and exploded by two individuals he refers to as the German twins. Following an unsuccessful attempt resulting in the deaths of Pam and Esmeralda in a warehouse explosion, he visits a diner and requests 2 large bottles of baijiu from his bartender pal Jake. He always listens to another customer, Dave, ramble on about boring stories, causing Roy to speak foolishly while drunk because he no longer cares. He also observes a woman named Dai Feng who consistently arrives at the same time. Roy acknowledges that every time it is 12:47 p.m., he has never survived as the assassins always track him down. Roy feels like it was months ago when he flashes back to May 8th. He went to see Gemma at her workplace, Dinao. During their conversation, she brought up the fact that he is not involved in their son Joe's life. Joe is unaware that Roy is his father and simply views him as one of Gemma's friends. She is operating a massive device that manipulates time and space, but it has the potential to cause global destruction if mishandled. Ventor's accomplice, Brett, emerges after both of them monitored Roy and Gemma through surveillance. Ventor observes that Brett is in possession of Roy's resume and believes that Roy has the ability to decipher their plan. Prior to Roy's departure, Gemma reminds him to not forget about Osiris. Later on, Roy goes to the bar and encounters Alice while conversing with his friend Gabriel, who is also a bartender. When Alice heads to the bathroom, he receives a call from Gemma, informing him that she might need to take extreme measures. Roy often thinks of Osiris whenever he sees the present Gemma gave him a few days earlier on the 9th, a book titled The Mythology of Iset and Osiris. Contained within is a communication from Gemma to Roy regarding the importance of moving forward in life and the idea that time does not wait for anyone. Try 143. Roy goes to a hidden arcade and spots Joe after tracking him from witnessing him receive an item from another child earlier. Roy comes up to him, and Joe admits to skipping school to attend a gaming competition, explaining that he was only swapping trading cards with another student. Roy spends time with Joe, but is saddened to have to inform him that Gemma has passed away. After leaving the arcade, Roy realizes it is now 12:50, indicating he has been alive longer than earlier. Regrettably, the rest of the assassins show up to eliminate him, but he protects Joe from their gunfire. While dying, he confesses to Joe that he is his father and expresses a wish that it would be his last death. Roy comes to the realization that he is being followed because they were unable to locate him while he was underground. While at the restaurant, he attempts to remove the tracker from his anus, but is informed by Dave that the tracker could be hidden in one of his teeth. Roy selects 2 incorrectly before discovering the correct one shortly before his death. After figuring out which tooth to extract, he manages to escape the initial hitman, but eventually loses the tracking device. After waking up, he asks Alice about her presence when he was drugged at the bar. She informs him that Brett was the one who put the tracker. He extracts the tooth and entices Pam to a secluded spot to murder her with her own firearm. He tricks Smiley and uses his own harpoon and truck to kill him too. Roy begins pursuing other assassins such as Roy 2 and the twins, but he ultimately focuses on Ventor and Brett. In the beginning, he is killed by Dinow security and Brett, but eventually he gets closer to Guan Yin, who effortlessly avoids bullets and consistently beheads him. Ventor informs him that Gemma's invention, the Osiris spindle, will be used to change history by undoing negative events and ultimately establishing himself as a worldwide ruler. Following his reset, Roy turns to Dai Feng for guidance in the art of swordplay. Assisting him in getting better, he successfully defeats Guan Yin in a duel. After killing Brett, he pursues Ventor, who questions him about Joe's protection. Roy hurries to the arcade, but discovers that Joe is already dead. Roy attempts to quickly get to the location, but the Osiris spindle activates and causes the world to be destroyed. Roy tries once more before giving up, letting the Machete Man kill him in the following 15 attempts, believing it is futile and that everyone will eventually perish. Eventually, he emerges from his state of sadness and chooses to spend his remaining time with Joe. He visits the arcade and connects with his son through various topics and games, enjoying quality time together as father and son in a way they never had before. Joe consistently falls asleep right before the world comes to an end. Try 249. Roy and Joe chat, with Joe bringing up receiving a voicemail from his mom earlier in the day. This implies that Gemma is still alive when Roy regains consciousness. Arriving in Dinow, he realizes he has a minimum of 14 minutes between waking up and Gemma's death. He is aware of what actions to take. In his next try, Roy successfully eliminates the machete-wielding man, boards the helicopter, ejects the gunman, and compels the pilot to head towards Dinow. He removes the security measures and, aware that the entire group of assassins is outside the door, he grabs a machine gun and quickly takes them all out. He heads to the main area and fatally wounds Brett and Ventor. Gemma discovers that the Osiris spindle functions just as she had envisioned. Roy describes his many deaths and how he has been spending his days with Joe. Gemma does not know what will happen, but he is prepared to enter the machine. He glances at her with reassurance before entering. Roy awakens once more on May 9th with the time loop finally shattered. He smiles confidently, aware of his task, yet cautious not to meet his demise. And showing this story ends here. Appreciate a subscribe, and please remember to like. Thanks for watching.